What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sun Belt Syndicate. And we never really do this, but I am one of two other hosts, Dominic Cressetto, and with me is Mr. Big Johnson himself, Seth Johnson.
Be here. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we gotta throw that out. I had fun with that show title when we did that one. Marv will be jumping in shortly as he travels back from some work stuff he had to take care of. As always, brought to you by collegefootballdogs.com, part of Dog TV. That will soon be on the website, all old episodes. It's kind of like a YouTube version. You'll be able to see all the old archived episodes as well as finding that stuff on YouTube. But we like to make it convenient. Also, a lot of articles coming out right now, even some about the EA Sports football game that everyone's very, very interested in, myself included. Seth, I don't know about you. I don't have a couple $100 to spend on a new gaming console, unfortunately. So,
luckily, there's a new one in my house that it's not been played too much, so I'll have to break out that here in a few months.
Nice. I'll just have to drive the 3 hours to come up the mountain and play it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As always, as well, W Energy down below. I forgot my tub. I was gonna bring my tub up here. I was gonna shake it around and show y'all that I really use this stuff. It's the first tub that I have is about empty. You've already got some backups. It's great stuff. Really, truly, if you're trying to get some caffeine without all the calories, it works. Trust me. It's not nearly what a soda will do to you. Seth and I love our sodas, but it's definitely helping me get what I need out of the caffeine without all the extra crap involved with it. So, yeah. Seth, how you doing today? I see you're already repping the App State baseball shirt for the show tonight.
Oh yeah, this thing's comfortable. Got it at the team store. Doing good, man. Can't believe we've already turned Memorial Day. Summer's here. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy to think we're already in regionals. And just a few months ago, we were sitting in a hotel in Vermont and talking about baseball, how we were ready for conference to start, and how fast it goes, my friend. How fast it goes.
No doubt about it, man. It really did fly by. I know when we were putting this together, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was like a week or two before the season. You're like, hey, you doing something for baseball? And I'm like, yeah, like let's do it, man. That was it. This has been so much more fun because you guys got involved, and
it's been a blast, man. It really has.
And full credit to you for having the guest on that we had, including this guest down below. Artie Cat's back. Hello, Sun Belt Syndicate. What a wild tournament. Absolutely. We're going to put the graphic up here in a second, but shout out to Artie for coming on last week to preview said tournament. Even though his Texas State Bobcats unfortunately didn't quite make the cut, they did make it exciting there towards the end, but maybe next year, because I had them as a team to look out for this year, but we'll see if they can round back into form going into next season. Seth, let's go ahead and add this thing up here to the stage, and I'm gonna flip us around here. So we're gonna put up top, and then Marv will come into that weird empty space besides Seth over here when we jump in. But obviously we've got the regional preview. But before we really dive deep into that, obviously we want to also let Marv get in here and be a part of that as well. We've really got to look at what happened last week. This is a little busy, but it has all the information on it. So we know circled down there at the bottom in gold is Southern Miss for having won the Sun Belt tournament 2 years, back-to-back champs. So congratulations to them for being able to pull that off. And as we're saying that, Marv is here.
Yo!
Look at that guy, bringing the professionalism to the podcast. Thank you for showing up tonight, Marv.
Hey, you're very welcome. Hey, listen, until Dubby starts paying some real bills around here, the real job's always going to win out.
Yeah. Trust me, I've been working hard on Dubby, but they're being a tough cookie, man. I can't solve them. I'm trying to be like, look, we can put you in front of a whole lot of more eyes when football season rolls up. They're going after the gaming market real hard. I'm telling you, the gaming market is about to explode with college football game coming out. Sports part is going to take over, but it's been a hard sell for me. So we do have a question. Do the Cajuns have the toughest draw? We'll get into that right after we go through just a little bit of what happened last weekend. Obviously, we do want to kind of mention how some of these teams got to this point. Let's start with, Seth's got the app shirt on tonight. Let's go with them. What were reasonable expectations coming in were probably to do exactly what they did. Maybe they even exceeded a few people's expectations. What do you guys think?
A little bit of a letdown in game one. 4-0, right? Going into the fifth or sixth, and Troy rallies for 6, and App just never recovers after that. And then after that first loss, going straight to the losers bracket, it's always hard to dig yourself out of. Who was it? Was it Coastal the next day, I believe?
It was
6-3 win over Coastal.
And
that put them with the rematch with Troy, right?
Coastal. Wow. Yeah, Troy. Rematch with Troy, knocked them out. And then
that was a game that Troy had that defensive 7th inning that was just disastrous. I think it was like 4 errors. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I won't lie to you guys. Marv and I were still on. I think Seth had already had to jump off at this point. I actually took Troy to win that first game against App. I just thought they just had enough. They're playing down there closer to home. They didn't have to have the travel aspect. And obviously it looks like a good decision, but once you saw how close it was, like Seth was mentioning, that was more of a toss-up game. And obviously you see it with the score with the 6-5, but not far away from where I thought it might actually go. I thought Troy might win kind of soundly in that first one and put them into lose bracket. Regardless, they go there. They defeat Coastal, who actually, obviously we see in that playing game, took care of Georgia State, I'd say rather easily, 5-1 in that first game to eliminate the Panthers. But then they go winless, right? They go down to Southern Miss 5-0, not really a close game there. And then they lose to App 6-3.
And then they get rewarded, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, wait until we get to Coastal's regional. I'm going to piss off every Coastal fan listening here because you do not deserve to be in this tournament.
Neither does the purple team either, buddy. My opinion.
Listen, I think let's jump into it. Georgia Southern and Troy deserve to be in
absolutely
Coastal. Not to mention College of Charleston and TCU. Coastal was 7th coming in. They win 1 game over the 10 seed who barely made it in. Then they get beat. Then they go
0-2.
Yeah, 0-2. Or they lost 5-0 and 6-3. And then they get rewarded with a 3 seed solely because their AD is the chairman of the board. That is, man, that's everything that's wrong with college sports. It's recency bias. They don't deserve to be in the tournament.
We've been harping on this since the beginning of April.
Yeah, and coach fans, our RPI, dude, you're not that good of a baseball team. I mean, you're a solid team, but you don't deserve to be in the tournament. I'm sorry, get over it. You're not. I'd be surprised if they win a game in their regional.
Yeah, are they in Raleigh?
No, they are in. Oh God, you just asked me that.
Are they in Clemson?
Clemson.
Okay. All right, we'll get back into that. Because
they might beat High Point, but they will get boat raced by Vandy and Clemson.
We're going to get into that a whole lot more. There's already questions coming in, so we're going to wrap this one up and we'll jump right into it. Any other real surprises for you guys? To me, Georgia Southern getting to the championship game wasn't totally shocking, but it was a little surprising. I thought JMU could get there. And I guess the most shocking thing to me was Louisiana going 0-2 and going straight out.
Absolutely.
That was big time shocking, and they probably cost themselves hosting a regional.
I don't know. I don't think they were hosting to begin with, but
40 plus wins, top 25 team. I don't know.
I think if they got to the
champion didn't even host.
This because the ACC champions got a garbage facility, as we've covered several times in this podcast.
Yeah, but is that why?
I've read that it wasn't the reason why, but it's hard to understand otherwise, really, right? I mean, you look at it, you win.
What was Duke ranked? What was Duke ranked going into that?
Going in? Oh,
yeah,
man.
they're top 10 team?
No.
I don't think they were a top 10.
Top 15, I would say.
So if you're a top 15 team and you win the second hardest conference in baseball, why don't you host?
It's a good good thing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this because we got a lot of stuff coming in. I love this. We already got a ton of interaction. So we asked, do the Cajuns have the toughest draw? We'll just jump around. How about that? Let's just jump around. So first of all, let's look at this one. So this is a tough draw for the number 1 and 2, right? I think those two going up against each other. 3 and 4, not so scary. Maybe Indiana, but we'll dive into some of why these teams could be or couldn't be. Now Louisiana's got Texas A&M, Texas, and the only easy out probably you're looking at is Grambling State. So yeah, it is a tough one. Is it tougher than this one? Is my question.
This one's weak.
That's exactly where they deserve to be next.
This week.
Yeah. All right. So this one is a little bit tough, I think. South Carolina's not an easy out. Bryant, should be, one that everybody expects to win over, if you're asking me.
This one's garbage too. South Carolina was below middle of the pack in the SEC, I believe, this year.
Yeah, I didn't have their conference.
But they did go. No, I'm sorry. LSU. Did LSU win the SEC tournament? I think
no.
So.
No, they didn't. And let's be honest, State's a really good baseball team, but they're not the juggernaut.
No.
If we're looking at any regional that one of our teams is in, the one that I could say Southern Miss has a chance.
Yeah.
And
historically, Tennessee's been overrated in the regional every year, or at least when they get to Williamsburg or Omaha.
I think JMU has a chance to make it out of the regional.
Who they got again?
South Carolina and NC State.
Yep. And Bryant, but that's the one that you assume everyone beats. So Artie says Lafayette definitely picked a weird time to fall off, and ODU and App State go on a tear. Absolutely. I mean, that made that conference tournament very exciting because when your top seed goes out early, it feels like it's wide open. Obviously, Southern Miss very much took advantage of that fact, not losing a game throughout the entire tournament. But yeah, interesting to see ODU and App both kind of take advantage of the spots they were put into. So interesting to see that. Chris wants to
about how weird of a game that Southern Miss App game was because of the multiple hour rain delays twice.
Yeah.
I think the final time from start to finish of that game was almost 9 hours or over 8.5 or something insane. It was literally a full day of baseball. I was jumping back and forth off the TV trying to figure out when it was coming back on.
Yeah.
I think after the long delay, Marv, I mean, you could kind of see just watching. Marv even said it. He's like, I doubt App even scores the rest of the game here. And he was absolutely right. Southern Miss just came out of the rain delay dominant.
Yeah, the bad thing is that we had bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth with one out, with a chance to Tolly comes up. I think there was 2 on when Tolly came up. I mean, Tolly, one swing of the bat, walks that game off. We load the bases. Zamora comes up, chases 2 really bad pitches, unfortunately, to get struck out. Kind of check swung at both of them, realized that he didn't have a chance. That game could have gone either way, but in my opinion, App was dominating going into the first rain delay, and then Southern Miss just came out and took over the game in between rain delays, and then to end it, I think they scored 5 unanswered. At one point. So, but that was a weird game. That's you got to think you got a pitcher that's out there in the groove, and next thing you know, it's like take 2 hours off. You're not going to come and pitch again.
Right.
Yeah.
Throw another kid out there, and he gets 2 innings in. It's like let's wait another hour and a half, 2 hours before you get to play baseball again. It's tough. It's got to be tough. Kudos to Southern Miss for coming out better prepared. And as Southern Miss fans were alluding to on Twitter a lot and on Facebook that I had seen, it favored them tremendously to go into that delay. Not only because, like you said, with the pitching kind of stopping them up, but then you think they come back with a new pitcher. They also had very little left. So had App won and gotten to that second game, I mean, there's a real possibility you're throwing outfielders in there to throw pitches. I mean, it was going to be maybe that bad. So it was always going to favor Southern Miss to move on. It was just whether it was going to be in game 1 or game 2. So a tough break when you get the weather like that, because that's how much it affects you.
I think that's the reason you see, like, I was looking at some games on Sunday just across the radar there, and there was a lot of high scoring championship games. And I think you look at pitching, as you said, like if you've made it that far to Sunday, you've used almost all your pitching. So you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel when Sunday comes around. So that's the reason you see such high scoring games in the final.
Not to mention the fact that App lost one of their best pitchers in the third inning. Did they ever say what the injury was to his elbow? Was it Tommy John? Or
no, it looked really bad, but apparently I haven't seen anything confirming anything necessarily, but I have heard that it maybe not was as bad as it looked, type of thing.
Yeah,
so
but it stinks when you got a guy, because I was watching that game in the car. He was in the zone. And then you lose him. It's obviously an emotional roller coaster for the kids. You bring in a guy that's probably supposed to throw extended innings in a different game, and that game. But pitching depth, yes, if App wins that game and we go to a second game with Southern Miss, same thing that happened in the tournament last year. That they had better arms and more arms than us. So it was inevitable, but you would have loved to see App win one.
Yeah. No doubt about it. So Chris wants us to tell him about Coastal. I was high on them with their bats to start the season. Seems like their pitching has been a real letdown. Should Vanderbilt be concerned? So we'll jump back into this. We're just going to, as we got a lot of comments to catch up on, but we're going to jump around as we just get to them, because I think that makes more sense than trying to hold comments until we get to certain slides here. So guys, let's hear your thoughts and feelings on Coastal. Really air it out. I know Marv's already kind of let it be known he doesn't feel they should have even been in the tournament. What are, now that they're in there, what are we looking at here with them? Clemson, Vanderbilt, High Point. I've got some statistics too, if you want me to go through those before we get into your thoughts, or just go ahead and just tell us how you feel first.
Who's our first game?
1, 4, 2, and 3, right?
Their first game.
Vanderbilt. It should be that, yeah.
Is it Vandy? Yeah, that's the 2-3 match. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, should Vanderbilt be concerned? Maybe that's why he's asking it right there.
I think Vandy's been below the pack all year as well, and I think they've kind of underachieved as well as Coastal. So, I mean, we can't forget Coastal at the beginning of the year. I was quickly reminded by both of you who Coastal had knocked off. They knocked off a regional host, Carolina. They knocked. Did they play ECU?
I thought it was ODU that played ECU. They could have.
They went to the last inning with State.
Yep.
That
was all the beginning of the year. They were, yes, but did Campbell even make the tournament?
I have not heard Campbell's name.
So yes, first half of the season.
No, they did not. No, they really fell off. ECU. They did not play ECU.
First half of the season, I thought Coastal was who we thought they were. Thought they were going to be good. Back half of the season, they fell off. The pitching was subpar. And
I think they fell off once conference started.
I think they started off pretty strong in conference.
App took 2 or 3 at the beginning of the year. I mean, I don't think they ever got rolling, really, did they?
App was on a roll when we played them. Listen, if you're the number 7 seed, you go 1 and 2, and you get in over teams that made it further than you, that finished higher than you in the conference. I don't buy it.
No, I don't either.
I think it's crap. So to answer Chris's question, no, I don't think Vandy has anything to worry about.
Yeah, so we'll touch on that. So like you said, hot start for Coastal. Not the greatest, but they played a ton of those games at home, if you remember. Fully front-loaded schedule at home. I think they played like 16 or 18 or 19 games at home in a row, which is nuts. They went 9-12 on the road. 9-12. On neutral grass, 1-2. So not impressive there either. They just went 16-14 in non-conference games. So again, these numbers really aren't impressive. As Marv just said, 1-2 in the postseason, not even playing the number 1 seed. Obviously did play the eventual champion in Southern Miss. So, that one's going to be tough to get by. They are 7-3 in their last 10, which when you're talking about the slides here is interesting, because even though they're 7-3 in the last 10, they, lost their last 2 games to be eliminated from the tournament. What got them in is that number 36 RPI and the number 22 strength of schedule. As you can see, when you do compare that to the rest of the teams in this field, those numbers are pretty outstanding. But like you said, when you talk about NCAA basketball, and what they always lean on is the hot teams right before they come into the tournament. If Coastal had a bad overall record, or the 34-23 overall record they had, but they struggled early and they were coming on strong. Like they made it all the way to the semis and dropped one. Then I can see them being brought into the tournament and saying, look, this team's pretty good overall and they're getting hot at the right time. But that's really the opposite of what's happening. So I do agree with your argument there that you can really flip some teams that were doing better at the end. Now, here, we're going to jump to Artie's comment here. He's saying Troy absolutely deserves to be in, but I will counter that with they're kind of like Coastal at the end of the season here. They were not overly impressive down the stretch. They had that really good long win streak. Let me see. I jump right back here to this. They had that 8-game win streak as we got towards the last, I think, 2 series of the season before Sunbelt Conference tournament action started. So they won 8 straight, but they really just jumped around with wins and losses too much at the end, I think, to get over that hump. But I think they could have been right there. If you're considering Coastal and you've put them in, especially as Marv said, as a 3 seed, then how come Troy's not possibly there somewhere along the line and is a 4 seed? Because to me, they're a very similar team overall. Now, they don't have the RPI and SLS.
If you look at it, though, Dom, 4 seeds are all like the obscure conference champions. You're not seeing any big names as a 4 seed. Artie, I would have put Georgia Southern in the tournament above Troy and Coastal.
Absolutely.
I fully agree with that. With what the stretch they were on, 100% I do agree with that. People aren't going to like that, but I shared this in Georgia Southern groups, and they're probably wondering why the hell I did that. But this is exactly why, because I think they had a real argument with where they got to, the championship game. Guys, I don't know how much of the championship game you got to watch. I was literally sitting –
baseball game.
It was fantastic. I was sitting at a Durham Bulls game, live baseball game, and I was watching that on the phone more because it was that good. And it's crazy to think over the last I wish I took a snapshot of the screen when they put this up, how many times they've been in the championship game and lost. Georgia Southern, that is. It's not all straight, but like out of the last 7 or 8 seasons, they've been in the championship game like 5 or 6 times. And this one looked like they were going to win until the 9th inning.
Yep.
So, yeah.
One thing
absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just say I absolutely agree with you guys. I mean, I think they deserve a spot to be in this. We said it all season, too, that they were a really good, talented team.
Yep. Right. So, I think at the beginning of the year, we were all, the title of the show is Beginners. And we were all kind of going into this kind of with a clean slate. And as we've got here towards the end of the year, I think we've learned that going into next year, RPI is what we could spend a whole show talking about RPI.
Yep.
Due to the reason, based on what we're talking about right now, scheduling these big teams and winning, for example, 1 of 4 will get you a long way because, talking about JMU, for instance, 1 of 4, and then I think they had a Virginia Tech win, a sweep of App, and maybe 1 or 2 from Coastal, and
they did sweep Georgia Southern, so that's going to be to their credit.
Okay,
yeah, that is to their credit. Yeah,
but a middle of the pack team in the Southern in the Sun Belt gets in. So, what would have happened if App had been beat Wake Forest in that close game earlier in the year? What if
Wake and takes the first game against Southern Miss, so they get in?
Yeah,
but so go back to the previous slide of where Coastal is, because I do want to kind of add some levity. Let's say Georgia Southern does get in over Coastal and they end up in that regional. I think it's the same result, but they deserve the chance to play more than Coastal.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And saying that you deserve a spot. Same thing with College of Charleston and Lamar, who I believe they said had the best baseball record and doesn't make the tournament because they didn't win their conference tournament, which is insanity. Because it's this is Chris's comment that I've seen him put on the college football or college baseball smack page. At some point, you can only do so much with your schedule. At some point, you just have to win the games, right?
Right.
Lamar's done that. There was teams that didn't do that. And so, it's only so fair, right? It's kind of like the Florida State argument. You didn't put them in the CFP. They won every game they were supposed to win. Did they have the eye test compared to other teams? No, that's why they weren't put in the college football playoff. Do I agree with the fact that they probably didn't stand a great chance because they were missing their star quarterback? Yes, but you've put kind of rules and regulations in place that must be met to get to this certain point. And now you kind of changed the mark, right? So you've just shown Lamar that just going bonkers and winning the most games in NCAA baseball during the season means next to nothing. It's like,
and then you have a team like Coastal sneak in. It's bullshit is what it is. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Politics. This is the reason why, as we talked and we went on a rant, this is the reason why with NIL and transfers and just the politics that's in college sports now. And I love college sports. You guys know that I love college sports more than pro sports every day. This is going to
give it time, Marv.
It's going to become less fun. This is going to become less fun. I'm going to start watching high school shit from now on because there's no corruptness in that yet. Actually, there probably is, but not as bad as this.
Yep. It's
true. Yeah. I mean, you get into the private high schools, you're looking at some stuff there. But I do agree with you. It's definitely losing some of that luster, and you always want to say these kids do deserve to get something for when they play. Absolutely. I'm not trying to say that, but
I think the argument of a team got screwed being put in a bracket, I think we've talked about all year. Baseball is one of those things where anybody can beat anybody on any day. Basketball is a little different, I think. For instance, in this scenario, like a 1 and a 4, typically you're going to see the one come through if this was basketball. But being baseball, I mean, if you're not hosting, you're at least a 2 seed. I don't think you got screwed by any means. Like, when would you not get screwed going to a 1 seed that's out of Conference USA or something like that? I mean, it is what it is. Unless you've played well all year, there's no way you've got screwed. Do I agree that Louisiana got a tough regional? Yeah, but I mean, the argument of they got screwed is kind of bullshit in my opinion as well, because we're at that point in the season where there's national seeds, and I mean, you can't hide. I mean, now's the time where you can't hide from anybody. So yeah, did they get a hard? I mean, yeah, I think every team in the tournaments, there's no easy regional. I think everybody's got it tough, to be honest with you.
I think Southern Miss got a better regional than Louisiana did.
Why? Yep. I mean, why though? You hear Texas is Texas, but do you really know how Texas did all year? I mean, you hear Texas and you think, oh wow, Texas, but on paper, did they really get screwed?
Yeah. So listen to this. To your point, Texas 35-22 overall, so not amazing, not bad at all. 11-5 on the road, 0-5 in neutral site games, which these will be for them. 15-10 in non-conference. Okay.
What's the RPI, Dom?
RPI is 47. Strength of schedule 29. So their strength of schedule's up there, which to me, I'm leaning more on strength of schedule than I'm leaning on RPI personally. But 6-4 in their last 10, 2 losses coming in because they went 0-2 in their postseason tournament. And then listen to how that compares to Louisiana. 14-5 on the road, although they were 40-18 overall. 14-5 on the road, 0-5 in neutral site games. So also both 0-5 in neutral site games, which again, these will both be neutral site games for both of these teams. 17-9 in non-conference, which is impressive, with a strength of schedule of 64. So not quite as high as Texas, but not terrible. 38 in the RPI compared to 47 for Texas. Again, just like Texas, they went 0-2 in their postseason tournament, but they are 7-3 in their last 10. So to me, those are pretty comparable.
Here's the question I have. Would you rather play Indiana or Texas?
Indiana.
Who won the Big Ten?
Because you're still playing Texas in Texas. It's not Texas at Texas. It's at Texas A&M, but you're still playing Texas in Texas. So you're playing Indiana in Tennessee. you're probably going to have, honestly, Southern Miss is probably going to have more fans there. Tennessee's definitely going to have more fans there. Northern Kentucky.
Also, if you look at it, the number 4 seed, would you rather have NKU or who was the other one? Bryant?
Grambling. So when you compare those two, if you want to see, NKU was 149 RPI. Grambling is 235.
Ooh.
The strength of schedule for Northern Kentucky, 269. For Grambling, 274. So really, those teams to me are quite similar because neither one should pose a threat to really any of the other 3 teams. Now, again, that's like what Seth has pointed out. This is where it gets crazy, right? But I will say, watching these tournaments closer the last 2 years, like it seems to be a lot more chalk when you got, a powerhouse and a lesser team. Somewhat like, how number 1 versus number 16 in basketball has become a little bit closer here lately. It feels like that's not the case in baseball as much. But again, I don't, maybe Indiana doesn't have their best pitcher going up and Northern Kentucky does, and the bats are swinging a little bit better. So again, you can still catch somebody off guard, but I don't think Southern Miss got screwed because I think Tennessee's really their only real, I don't know if they could win that one. I think these other 2 teams, they could beat both of them. Hell, they could run roll both of them. You know what I mean?
If you're Southern Miss, you're right where you want to be. I mean, you want to revenge from last year. Yeah, from the Super Regional, and you got it. I'd be licking my chops if I had Tennessee and I was the number 2 in Knoxville. Time to get some revenge from last year. I think this, I could care less about Indiana and Northern Kentucky, but Tennessee, Southern Miss will be a good one if we get to that point.
Yeah,
I would rather be a Southern Miss fan than a Louisiana fan this weekend. If I was just looking at the teams, looking at everything objectively, I would rather be a Southern Miss fan. I feel more optimistic.
Yeah, Chris is saying that can they get back on Tennessee for smacking around? I agree with Seth. I think this is the one where, like you said, Seth, Tennessee, and it's not just in baseball. It seems to be in football and in basketball to some extent. Like obviously thought of very highly, but sometimes doesn't live up to expectations. Could this be the chance USM wants again to get revenge for last year? But it'll be real interesting. I know that there was a big Applebee's conversation last year. I don't know how much you two know about that, but there's something about Applebee's between these two. So it'll be fun. If you see anything about Applebee's, just know that's coming from the trash talk that was talked last season on Twitter and elsewhere. Artie saying Texas is beatable. Yeah, I think we just heard some of those reasons why, but yeah, I don't think quite the
Texas
powerhouse.
State knocked Texas off earlier in the year, I believe so, correct?
I think at that college classic, I think they did. Yeah, okay. Louisiana struggled in that, but Texas State performed very well before they kind of took that nosedive there.
You know how you don't get how you don't get the 3 seed in a regional like that? You win your conference tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's all based on wins and losses, right? So
should be.
I mean, at the end of the year, you have nobody else. But I mean, it's like any sport. I mean, you can sit here and argue. I mean, I agree. Coastal, that's just bullshit, to be honest with you. Yeah. But
that goes back to
getting 3 there. Yeah, I don't agree with that.
That goes back to my earlier question, though. If Louisiana wins the Sun Belt Conference Championship tournament, ranked 40+ wins, you win the 3rd or 4th highest RPI conference, you host, right?
Yep. There's no doubt. You can't do that. There's no way that anybody would understand your reason if you didn't give them a hosting section.
Just like no one understands, besides the facility, why Duke's not hosting right now.
True. Yep. Listen to this. I didn't know this. Daryl's sharing this with us. Tulane and Nicholls State both flew from the same plane to California. And that tells you where the disparity is in these haves and have-nots, Pretty crazy to think about that. And then he says, who the F is Lafayette? Yep, they are, in fact, Louisiana. Don't get it twisted.
Let's talk about that state regional.
Yeah, we will get into that. I want to catch up on some of these comments. The fact that Sunbelt is consistently able to get 4 teams in the tournament now shows how good of a conference this really is. And I mean, we had 2 bubble teams. we had Troy and Georgia Southern there, and even App was actually, when you see some of the teams that were battling there towards the top of the bubble, App wasn't near the top necessarily, but they were in that 5 to 8 teams that people were being looked at. Like you guys said too, a couple of those early season games flip, especially against a ranked team like Wake was earlier in the season, and now again, that changes your perspective, that changes your strength of schedule, that changes your RPI.
Hey, if we would have won one game against JMU, does that go as far as JMU's one win against Arkansas?
Good question. And Artie does agree that big, massive delay did cost App the game. I'll say that I don't think it cost them the tournament kind of thing. I think it just cost them the game. I think the tournament was always going to go in that
prolonged
favor.
It a little bit.
As a realist, we do have an Eagle fan joining us who's literally going by the name Eagle Fan on Twitter. Coastal has a lot of injuries, pitching like 5 to 6 pretty good ones. So
in the hell are they in the tournament?
Yep, it has to be asked, and everyone's going to say because their AD's on the committee, and I saw a lot of Coastal fans saying that's not the reason why. Now, you can make numbers do a lot of things, but everyone's always going to question that when that happens. It's not that it's Coastal in baseball. It's across the board. If you have your AD on a committee for football or basketball or baseball, and you have questionable metrics to get into the tournament, but you make it in, it doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the perception is outside of that room, which is you got in because you have someone on the committee. You're not going to change people's minds on that. You can present them with all the information you want, but I'm just telling you right now, people are going to believe what they want to believe on that because it looks a certain way, and there's not much you can do to change people's minds in that regard.
That's because facts are facts.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you got to think.
Kind of like the way Marv coaches baseball. Daddy ball.
Daddy ball.
We got a lot to talk about later, by the way.
Hey, that is daddy ball, though. That is the textbook definition. My kid plays shortstop and leads off.
I agree.
Chris is saying Lamar, CFC, and Hawaii all deserve to be in the tournament over Florida without question. Yeah, I think that's another one you look at like Coastal and say, why are they here? What have they done long term? Yes, they're in the SEC, but again, at some point, you have to win the games on your schedule. Just because you have a tougher schedule.
But Donald, they played for a national championship last year. Recency bias.
Yeah.
They
did do that
years ago before my kid was born. Recency bias.
Yeah. Artie's thinking that
Billy Napier's last year at Florida coming up. Be ready.
Yeah, it might be.
He's can, boys.
Yeah, Cajun fans looking for a new coach next fall. Here we go.
Scared money don't make money, but apparently no money at all.
Yeah.
Hey, his money's not scared anymore. He's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. So this is Chris saying, I heard a coach actually question whether ESPN played a role in the selection in the control of the TV rights and teams that left out were all Flow Sports affiliated. I did not personally read that, but that is interesting.
Did you see the College of Charleston coach basically say, hey, it really helps when your AD is the chairman of the committee?
Yep. I did see that. I will say this a little. I realize the frustration and everything. It was a little whiny for me, but I do agree with his points. But he said we work so hard, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm like, doesn't everybody? I mean, and 24/7. You're not working 24/7, but I understand what you're saying. These kids put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. Every team seems to really be doing that.
As a coach, you have to dig the trench and go to war for your kids. I have nothing negative to say about what that guy did. He stuck up for his kids, and he gained a fan. Hey, did y'all know the Coastal doesn't deserve to be in this tournament?
Did what? Sorry,
did you know the Coastal doesn't deserve to be in this tournament?
No, I would not have put them in personally. No. So Flow Sports, for those that don't know, is like the biggest partner for Conference USA and probably a few other smaller conferences. So maybe an interesting aspect there. Very interesting. I had not heard that. Texas State did beat Texas 2-1 earlier this year. So Artie's hitting us up with that information as we get to it a couple minutes after the fact. And then Chris is saying that he would rather play Texas than Indiana. That's interesting. I'd still like it the other way around, like I said, because you're getting Indiana. To me, Big Ten team, I'm just not impressed with the Big Ten, to be totally honest. I think Indiana's a team, too, that could have just been outside this tournament. So I think I would rather play Indiana than Texas. But I am not scared of Texas. Like, I don't think the Cajuns should be scared of – I don't think they will be scared of Texas. But there's that.
Once again, you're playing Texas – in Texas. Yes, not their home stadium, but it's in their home state. So you got to.
Why do we keep talking about Texas? Why are we not talking about Texas A&M? It was the number one team in the nation half the year.
Yeah.
We keep talking about the 2 seed, but let's talk about the 1 seed for a minute.
All right, yeah, let's do it. All right, so they went 38
undefeated.
Yeah, they went 38-27 overall. So they're playing at home in this. So I changed this. A lot of these teams have road and neutral site things, but they were 22-13 at home. Impressive. 18-7 non-conference. 6-4 in the postseason. So they played a lot of games. 6-4 in their last 10, obviously, as well. They are on a 2-game losing streak coming in, though. So they lost their last 2. But they do have an RPI of 28 with a strength of schedule of number 8. In the country. So that tells you why they are number 1 seed.
Yeah, they play in the SEC.
Yeah, easy.
Yep.
I mean, I think if you finish in the top half of the SEC, you're competing to win you're competing to win a conference championship in any other conference. I mean, it's just that is the way it is. It's so tough.
Yeah, and already saying if they can if Texas State can beat them 2 out of 3 games, then Louisiana should definitely be able to as well.
Find out Friday.
Cody is saying after the soggy chicken sandwiches under the bleachers, Tennessee is out for blood. I'm not sure I totally understand the reference, but it's still funny nonetheless. So
I'm going to assume that Southern Miss fed them some pretty bad chicken sandwiches.
That must be where the Applebee's stuff came out of. I'm not really sure where the Applebee's stuff originated from. I forget. I thought it was like in reference to how close an Applebee's was to the stadium, which is the weirdest flex ever. If I remember right, some Tennessee fan was like, "You don't even have an Applebee's within 1.2 miles of your stadium."
There's nothing within walking distance of the Tennessee's baseball stadium. I can vouch for that.
Okay, well,
so
it seemed like a very strange thing to throw out there, and maybe somebody was just trying to be funny, but Southern Miss fans rolled with it, and they lit them up for it. So it's pretty funny. So they even referenced the fact that they're shipping up to Applebee's to go play their regional tournament aspect, because that's what they refer to Knoxville as. I hear there is 5 Applebee's in Knoxville, in case you're wondering where to go get an Oreo shake, as the country music artist made so fast. Seth, you know who that is? Who is that? Oreo shake.
Yeah, if you hadn't asked me, I would have told you.
Yep.
Not enough of a country music fan to tell you that myself. Randy Jowers told me they were going to put Chick-fil-A sandwiches in the hotel rooms for Southern Miss. Okay, so here we go. We're getting hot and heavy with the Southern Miss and Tennessee slander here. So there we go. Oh, here's Randy right now. Cold ones under the bleachers. Yeah, so there's something about chicken sandwiches under the bleachers here.
Chick-fil-A.
So, okay, here we go. Here's the details. During the rain delay in the Southern Miss UT game last year, UT had to eat cold chicken sandwiches under the bleachers and while they waited for that rain delay to end. So, yes, there's where the cold chicken sandwiches come from. I'm not sure. Again, I don't think that has any direct correlation to the Applebee's stuff too. But who knows? It got weird. It got real weird, and Applebee's just became this. There was memes and all kinds of stuff thrown out. It was, if you go back a year in your Twitter profiles, you can probably find a bunch of this craziness that went down. And Artie's got a Texas observation. The Texas Observation Tower, in thumbnail, was closed for decades after a horrible incident in the 60s. Oh, man.
Only Artie would know that.
The obscure, cool stuff that he knows, man. He was probably there when it happened or something. No, but if he's got further details he'd like to share, he can certainly do so. I'm gonna.
You know what he's referencing, correct?
No, not off the top of my head.
There was a like a sniper style shooting from the observation tower in Texas in the 60s. Killed a bunch of students. Yeah.
Dang. I know about the Kent State stuff and everything, but I wasn't familiar with the Texas.
Didn't mean to bring the mood down, but just didn't want you to think he was making some kind of weird joke.
Yeah. Was it so? Is that pictures from Texas's campus? I thought that was from A&M's campus, but maybe I'm wrong.
Who we got in this one, fellas?
Didn't get descriptive.
A&M all the way.
A&M all the way.
Man, I want to take the Cajuns so bad, though. Yeah, yes, for conference supremacy, but you do have to look at. Did we go over? Yeah, we went over Texas A&M stuff. They're strong at home. I think that's going to be really, really tough again. They're playing down there.
Let's break this down logistically. Texas A&M Grambling, Texas A&M walks that, right?
Right.
Cajuns, Texas. Who you taking game one?
I'll take the Cajuns. I think they can do it.
So then Cajuns go to the winner's bracket and play A&M, get bounced back down probably, and play the winner of Texas versus Grambling.
They'll have to beat Texas twice.
Mm-hmm.
No, Texas once.
And then if they beat Texas once, if I'm not mistaken, they have to go back and beat A&M twice because A&M will not have lost yet.
Correct. Yeah. So I have to lean A&M at that point when you explain it like that, because going all that way and not losing two along the way is going to be
tough.
Very key to win that first to beat Texas.
Yep.
Very key to beat Texas.
Big key to beat Texas. Yes, correct.
Yep. Not a doubt about it. All right, so let's jump back and do that same thing. So we're taking A&M to come out of that regional, unfortunately. But I think that's a realistic take. What do we think here? We've got Tennessee taking out North Kentucky. Anybody got any questions there?
Hey, North Kentucky's pitcher comes out, throws a gem, strikes out 12. North Kentucky over yeah. So I would say Tennessee versus Southern Miss in the winners bracket.
Yep, I agree there. The question is just like the other one, honestly. Do you think Southern Miss can beat Tennessee twice?
I could see this game, that regional final going. I could see the regional final in this one going 2 games. If that makes sense. Southern Miss having to beat Tennessee twice, beating them once, and then going to a final and Tennessee winning on a walk-off in the second.
So last year, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe Southern Miss won the first game against Tennessee. They looked pretty good in at least one of the other 2 games, but Tennessee did win 2 in a row to take the regional down there. So
the previous year, I think Tennessee was like number 1 in the nation, and they had to hit a walk-off in their regional just to go to the super regionals. The last few years in the postseason, Tennessee's been bounced. They got bounced early in Omaha last year too, I believe. I mean, they've been overrated the last few years and not being able to show anything for it. I mean, going to Omaha, yes, but being bounced early.
Yeah, and we'll also provide some stats behind the UT team right now. As Randy says, he thinks Southern Miss is capable. He just doesn't think it's likely. I would have to say, I'd essentially agree with that. Not necessarily it's likely, but it definitely could happen. I think these teams, there's enough guys on the roster from last year that remember exactly how it went, and their fan base is rowdy enough and ready enough to win this too. But UT comes in 50-1 overall, 35-3 at home. So we talked about Texas A&M not losing a lot at home. Tennessee loses even less, 24-2 in non-conference games, 4-1 in their postseason tournament, 8-2 in their last 10, won their last 4 straight, 5 straight at home, a number 1 in RPI and number 23 in strength of schedule. So when you see those numbers, why they were a number 1
a little bit.
That's why. That's why you play the game.
It is why you play the game.
I agree with the last commenter. If I'm Southern Miss, you got a shot. Once again, I would rather be a Southern Miss fan than a Louisiana fan right now, just because I think Texas A&M is a better team than Tennessee. I don't know. They got a shot.
You got to beat Indiana first. I could see that. I could see that going a little sideways this first game as well, though.
Oh, that's right. You got to keep in mind, Indiana beat Coastal.
At Coastal.
Ooh.
At Coastal.
The juggernaut.
Yeah, they went to Omaha and got bounced in the first 2 games. I mean, and then
he said Tennessee won at least won a game in Omaha last time, unlike in 2021. And here we go. Tennessee fans also complained that they had to travel to a smaller stadium, even though USM averaged a higher attendance than their stadium holds. Good point. We've talked about this all season. The Sun Belt is not a little tiny conference when it comes to baseball. You may be able to say that in basketball. You can't say it in football. You certainly 110% can't say it in baseball. They're bigger, better, stronger than the Big Ten. They've proven it the last several years. They've had more national title winners over the last couple decades than the Big Ten has had. And they just play in markets where people care more than they do up north. Bottom line.
I'd be willing to bet that the Pete is probably more lit on any game day than Tennessee is. And I bet Tennessee doesn't have a waiting list for season tickets for baseball.
That's a good point.
Throwing that out there.
Good and fair point. A&M better than Tennessee. Didn't they just play? They probably did, if he's asking.
At some point.
I pay less attention to the other conferences, but yeah, we could probably pull that up and see that. The Tennessee fan base is hilarious. They have a persecution. Is that the right thing? Persecution complex, second to none, and weave elaborate fantasies to explain their shortfalls. Yeah, Tennessee is going to get railed here as far as the trash talk goes. USM is not to be messed with when it comes to trash talk. You want to get into a debate or trash talking, go follow a bunch of Southern Miss Twitter fans for really any sport, but a lot for baseball. They will let you have it. They will bring the army with them. So you want to disparage them, good luck. You're not going to stand much of a chance with what I've seen out of those fan bases there. Southern Miss is really good baseball school, no doubt about it. They absolutely do have a waiting list, though. That's what he's saying. I'm assuming Randy's talking about Tennessee there. I think I want to make sure I don't miss anybody here that's shared anything. All right, Southern Miss won one game, was looking good in game two, then rain delay. Tennessee must have liked the cold chicken sandwiches because they came out of the delay hot, smoked us in game three with Chase Burns. Okay, I was trying to think that there was a really respectable game that could have gone a different direction. So that was the second game there. Yep. So that tells you, again, how close Southern Miss was to moving on over Tennessee just last season. Not saying the teams are the exact same. They're not. So it is a different year, but, you know, we'll have to see. Randy says, we ready. Check Vol Twitter, boys. I'm sure it's going to be heated, but trust me, Southern Miss will not be backing down on that. Vol Twitter versus Golden Eagle Twitter was an epic watch last year. It'll be grand again this year. No doubt about it. Chase Burns' throat slash was epic in that game. Yeah, it's good. If you're going to watch one game all weekend long, tune into that one. I'm telling you, it's going to be electric. It's going to be there. All right, so we covered that one. I think we've covered this one. Let's get into the two that we maybe haven't covered as much, especially as predictions go. That last one featuring James Madison, probably the one we've talked about the least, the one that I'm hopefully going to get to JMU's first game against, I guess it's South Carolina there on Friday. I got a ticket for 2 p.m., so hopefully it works out. I can get over there and check it out. But before we do that, we are now talking Clemson, Vandy, Coastal, and High Point in this regional down there in Clemson, South Carolina. All right, so we've got Vandy and Coastal. Anyone thinking Coastal Springs the upset there? Or are we sticking with Vandy, boys?
Wouldn't be surprised either way. I wouldn't. A low-scoring Coastal affair. I could see Coastal walking away with this. I have a good friend that's a big Clemson fan. I was supposed to go to this regional. Some things happening where I wasn't able to, but we've talked a little bit this week. I think, Clemson's obviously the high favorite, but even High Point as a 4 seed, I think App played them earlier in the year, and I think App ran away with it towards the end, but High Point, decent little ball team, but
yeah, close for a while.
I don't think anybody's got anything for Clemson.
I don't either. So let's use the same metrics we had. Clemson, High Point, you're taking Clemson.
Yeah.
First game, Coastal, Vandy. I think Vandy
here before you do that, let me give you some metrics. So Vandy 13-8 on the road, 5-3 neutral sites, 21-3 in non-conference games. Just 4-6 in their last 10, but they do had an RPI of a 9 with the strength of schedule of number 1 in the country. Coastal Carolina, meanwhile, 9-12 on the road, as we already talked about, 1-2 neutral site games, 16-14 non-conference. 7-3 in their last 10 somehow, even though with those 2 losses coming in. Number 36 RPI, 22 strength of schedule.
Didn't they sweep like Marshall and Arkansas State to end the season?
You say that one more time?
Didn't Coastal sweep like Marshall and Arkansas State?
It was Marshall last series of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Marshall last, and the one before that was Georgia State.
Georgia State.
But they didn't sweep them. They actually lost one to them. So
okay. So they
interesting. Interesting
enough. There's 5 of those 7 right there.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good point. Yep. So okay. So before we get back into the comments there, then so we're gonna take as a collective group. What are we gonna do? Vandy or Coastal?
Coastal.
You taking Coastal? You say Vandy, Marv?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the deciding factor here. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to look at Chris's thing here. Vandy owns Clemson in baseball, black and gold on a business trip. If they think they own Clemson in baseball, we'll see about that. But I will side with Chris on this one. I will take them. I just don't think Coastal's hot at the right time. I think they're cold at the wrong time. So I don't know if they've got enough to turn it around. They have the guys to do it. I just don't know if they'll be able to. So I'm going to take Vandy in that one. That sets up a Vandy Clemson because I'm not sure Coastal could battle back and win 2 games against either team if they had to, no matter who it was.
Vandy takes game 1.
Oh, okay.
Clemson battles back to beat Vandy. Actually, I'm confused now, but I think Clemson wins in a winner-take-all game and the end
on Monday.
Yep.
Okay. I'll take Clemson as well. They were number 1 earlier this season, and they were up there all the time. So, yeah, I think they've got enough to go through. Randy is going a little surprised here. Says, "Give me Coastal going unbeaten." I put more money on them going beaten, but. That's me.
I'm taking Vandy out of this one.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Wouldn't surprise me either way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the battle of SEC, ACC. Oh, I do wanted to mention that. I did have that up real quick. SEC, 11 teams. ACC, 8 teams. Big 12 gets 6 teams in there. Sun Belt gets 4 teams. The Big 10 with 3. The Pac-12 also with 3. Important to mention that because we know the Pac-12 will almost cease to exist. I mean, I think they technically will exist in name still. But, the conference is essentially done at this point. And only one of the 3 teams that made it from the Pac-12 will still be in the Pac-2, as Oregon State will now be the lone representative from that conference to exist anymore. So you do look at the Big Ten getting better in baseball next year just because of that, unfortunately. But we'll see how that goes. Randy's also saying Clemson was a favorite in their regional last year, and, well, Vols ruined that party. So he's having some fun with that one. And then Vandy has won a Clemson regional twice in 2017 and 2018. Clemson has not advanced past a regional since 2010 doors. Moving on. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's probably between those 2. I don't really know if I see High Point having any kind of chance. Coastal just not having a great one. So I think you couldn't go wrong with taking Clemson or Vandy there. My money would be on Clemson since they're at home, I guess. But we'll see. All right, the one we've talked definitely the least about. Number 1, NC State. Number 2, South Carolina. Number 3, James Madison. And number 4, the Bryant University Bulldogs. I think I know where you guys are going to go in this one, but what are your thoughts here?
1-2 matchup. I think South Carolina was a little bit down this year, but like we've talked about, tough conference. State, top half of the ACC, another tough conference. I think by the time we're said and done by Sunday night or Monday, I think it's a 1-2 in this one, 3-4. I think this is a garbage regional, to be honest with you. This is State's got one team to worry about, and that's it. As long as COVID doesn't happen this weekend, State should be fine.
Oh, I like that little dig that you just put in there.
Yeah.
Hey, why didn't State just schedule Virginia to be in this one?
Hey, I did hear a funny story today about that. Apparently, there was a big golf tournament in Boone last weekend, the coaches tournament with Doran, Mac, and they had a dinner at ASU the night of the tournament, and that was the same day the news broke that State had bailed out on App. They said it was like, I heard a couple people that were there, and it was pretty awkward because Doran was there, and yeah, they said Doran and Mac hate each other to begin with, and Doran had just bailed on coming up to Boone, and here they are at a golf tournament having dinner at ASU. So they said that was pretty interesting.
Well, I hate it. I think it's stupid. I despise everything about it. But I will say, it wasn't Doran's decision to make, right? I mean, he's not. He's the whole school.
He is the head football coach.
He is the head football coach. Yeah, he could have said, "No, let's go up there." And let me ask a question. This is unrelated to baseball. Does App have to make the return trip to NC State the following year, or can we be like, "Nah, we're just going to schedule Garner Webb"?
Well, I think they got out of the entire deal, didn't they? I think the whole thing is gone, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought the whole series.
Like that's happened a lot lately. South Carolina was supposed to come to Boone as well, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that one just got moved back, and there's still debate about that being bought out.
Hey, Wake Forest is supposed to come to do a 3-game series with us, and they used COVID to back out of it. But all right, going back to the baseball.
Yeah. Here we go. This is an important note from Chris before we get into it. South Carolina just lost their first baseman, Gavin Cassis, at the SEC tournament. Without Cassis, I like JMU to be the runner-up in this regional. Randy's saying, I don't think any of these 4 contenders pass the regional, so give me the Gamecocks. And Artie is letting us know Bryant is the pride of Rhode Island, which is a nice note because I had no idea where Bryant University was, to be totally honest with you. So thank you, Artie, for letting us know that. And just to note real quick, so you've got NC State and South Carolina. NC State, 15 RPI, 3 in strength of schedule. South Carolina, 21 in RPI, 5 in strength of schedule. Now you've got the 3 and 4 teams, and listen to this. JMU, 100 in RPI, 123 in strength of schedule. Bryant, 115 in RPI, 264 in strength of schedule. So you've got to think you've got a favorite.
What did you just say JMU's RPI was?
JMU's RPI is showing as 100.
Weren't they like 40s?
That's not right.
No, it's not right at all.
That can't be right.
That was
mid-40s, isn't it?
Saying that. Let me see what I just grabbed that. Let's see, JMU.
It should be 100, yes.
So it either changed drastically or WarrenNolan.com has got it wrong because
there's no way they would have got in with that RPI.
Absolutely not.
Let's see here.
Unless Arkansas is a very, very, very good baseball team.
Hold on. I'm on this Warren Nolan right now, too. JMU 44.
Yeah. 44. Okay. Warren Nolan maybe not have updated all their stuff. That's my guess. So maybe some of these aren't right, but I thought I was going off of the best. No, you know what's funny is, you know what? Okay. This is weird. So they've got all these metrics with records, last 10 rankings. Up at the very top, away from all of that, says live RPI, and it does have 44 up there. But if you go down to the RPI listed,
they're also 44 on the NCAA RPI. So 44 is a consistent.
So some of these things may be a little different than what I've stated. Then I did not realize that they had this listed twice. Interesting. I'm not sure what live RPI and where do they get this other RPI from? Anyways.
Seth, can you call HR? This is atrocious.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Get somebody on the line. This is unacceptable. We look like fools. Just me mainly, but
Somebody call W.
Yeah, get W on the line. They just decided not to sponsor us anymore. Dang it.
No, I think State being at home. I think State wins game 1, and then JMU, South Carolina go. It's a tight battle. I think regardless whether JMU wins that game or not, I think State wins. I think State's a clean sweep. I don't think JMU – unfortunately, JMU don't get to play State 4 games and take one and be the regional champ. So,
give me the pride of Rhode Island to advance. Because I don't like any team in this regional.
Yeah. Here's an interesting stat now that we know that the RPI is not correct, at least to what I had said. JMU's non-conference strength of schedule is number 5, which has to be greatly affected by 4 straight games against Arkansas in the early part of the season.
How?
All right, hold on. I'm looking up JMU's baseball schedule right now.
Virginia Tech's the only other one.
So they started off the season at Arkansas. Yes. They took 1 out of 4. They beat Virginia Tech, and they played Fairfield, George Mason, who we knew was terrible, Cornell, VMI, Richmond, ETSU, Niagara. Like, come on. Maryland.
Niagara's actually a solid baseball team, I believe.
Radford again, Richmond again, VMI again, Maryland again, Georgetown, USC Upstate. Get the heck out of here with this out of conference schedule. That is
nonsense.
Sorry.
Good luck to them. Go Wolfpack. I'm done.
I just see what the mistake I made was. I don't know how I made it. I just clicked on their thing. I had their schedule up from 2023, not 24.
Dubby's going to cut us off.
All these other ones, like saying, did I click a wrong one for a couple of these other teams? And I'm seeing 2024.
This whole show's been a scam.
Just when I started to enjoy.
Although I got the wrong one for Vanderbilt. That was 2022.
Have we been doing this all year long? Golly.
No, he's been right.
No. Yeah, I don't know. You know what's funny is I typed in every single team's name with 2024 Warren Nolan in the Google search for every single one, pulling it up. I guess I just didn't read closely enough. But I'm saying, wow, that was a hard schedule for JMU. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not.
I think he is.
Hey, so considering the fact that JMU's non-conference strength schedule was crap, NC State's chicken shit because they don't want to play football teams, and South Carolina lost the first baseman. Pride of Rhode Island. Pride of Rhode Island. Let's get it.
Go Bulldogs.
Let's get it.
Go Bulldogs.
Now, honestly, if you're any Sunbelt team, are you afraid of being a 3 or 4 seed in this tournament?
In this one?
No.
Nope. Yeah, in this one.
I think a lot of Sunbelt teams could compete in this one.
100%.
Mm-hmm. I think you put.
JMU's going to win this one now.
This is the most favorable. This is the most favorable regional of any Sunbelt team, in my opinion.
Louisiana would have been the 1 in this one, or at least the 2.
Louisiana could come in here as a 3, and I'd be like, yeah, favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got Texas. So,
guys, I would even put Georgia Southern and Troy as a good shot to win this one if they put them in here, and they didn't even make the tournament. So
absolutely.
You could put App in here, and I'm like, they might play for the final.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Even though they got swept by the 3 seed, so.
Overrated.
At the away site. Come on, Seth. Come on. This is neutral.
Hey, Raleigh's a home game. Raleigh's a home game for App State.
True, it would be. It really would be. The only reason Fairfield is not in the tournament is because they didn't win their conference tournament. That team went 38-15. Yeah, I mean, they've got a – I did see this. I was watching the selection show. They had 2 former coaches that were on as commentators as well as the guy that kind of hosted it from ESPN. One of them was alluding to the fact they need to expand the tournament. Then you don't have some of these issues. But what size tournament do you get to? Because then you've got to look at how many teams are in a regional, what's the breakdown. So that would be tough.
College of Charleston went 41-14. 41-14.
Yeah. Yeah, he said in 2021, Fairfield started the season something like 27-0 and ended up going 45-3 and took Arkansas to a 3rd game in the regional. Artie says absolutely the easiest. Just get past Bryant from the mean streets of Providence.
Artie, it's been awesome this year, buddy. You've been amazing.
I hope and really truly mean this, that we get at least one team to move on, because then we continue this weekly. It's probably a shorter show because we have less to talk about. But I don't want it to end, guys. It's been a fun ride.
Hey, so let's do this real quick. Out of the 4 teams that are in,
yeah,
best chance to advance, least chance to advance.
Okay.
JMU's got the best chance, I think.
I think I agree with that. I mean, we're just going back real quick.
I think
JMU, Southern Miss, Louisiana, Coastal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, if the Cajuns were coming in hotter, I might put them above Southern Miss, but I'd still put JMU at the top. I do agree with you. I think that's the most realistic one. And as much as we crapped on JMU a little bit, even though we're thinking they have a good chance, they are very consistent overall, I'd say, from what I've seen.
You're right. You're right.
I think, let me see here. JMU, well, they lost back-to-back games 7 times this season, but they did win 8 straight games at one point, with the only losing streak of 4 straight at any one point in time. So, yeah, the back-to-back losses added up. But if you really look at it, that's right at the median probably for the entire conference. So it's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. Especially when you think, I just don't think, like you guys are saying, these 2 teams aren't powerhouses over here at 1 and 2.
No, I think JMU's got a good chance.
Nice. All right. Anybody else got any thoughts outside of the Sun Belt teams? Anybody you think jumps up, surprises? Anybody you think is going to be somebody to really watch out for?
Finally break through.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would too.
Yeah, Artie's pretty much agreeing with us. JMU best, Coastal last. I think that's pretty much what we had, right? Besides Southern Miss and Louisiana, kind of in the middle there, depending on which one of us you asked, maybe. But
are we gonna, even if everybody gets beat this week, are we still doing an exit interview next week just to go over everything?
We could do an exit interview. I like that. I did that last year for each team individually, like as a video aspect. I didn't do it as a podcast, but we could definitely do it as a podcast. It'd be more fun to do as a podcast.
Marv, did you see who lost their head coach today? Red Wolves.
Yeah.
We'll have a new coach next year.
Well, why did he leave so late?
Yeah, you're right. The fan bases wanted him out there way earlier than that. So you ain't wrong about that.
Right, so Seth, going to what you said, ECU, their regional, Evansville, VCU, Wake Forest.
It's a tough one.
Wake Forest is probably the only team you need to worry about there. Duke's got a decent draw. Oklahoma, Oral Roberts, UConn. Taking Duke coming out of that one.
Indiana State ended up not hosting, correct?
Yes. Arkansas host, Florida State host, Virginia host.
LSU goes to Chapel Hill. That'll be a good one.
That'll be a really, really good one. They got Wofford in there. Wofford's a good baseball team. They won 41 games.
Yeah. I actually, speaking of the Chapel Hill Regional, the cool part about being in the Triangle is I could, and I might, be able to swing the 2 p.m. NC State opening game, which is actually not NC State. It's obviously James Madison in South Carolina. But I might be able to get over to Chapel Hill by 6 to see that first one. So that could be interesting. I don't know for sure, but that's
I'd rather go to the Saturday game if you get a ticket. North Carolina, LSU. That will be that'll be
phenomenal.
That would be awesome. Tommy Tanks.
Yeah, but that one's going to be harder to get. I'm thinking the first one might be easier.
Yeah.
I'm looking at other what I think are easy brackets. Oklahoma State hosting Niagara, Florida, and Nebraska. That's not a good bracket at all. Georgia, they're the number 1 seed with Army, Georgia Tech, and UNCW.
Wow.
That's not a loaded bracket.
Yeah, Georgia's coming out of there, no question.
And then Kentucky. They got Western Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana State, which Indiana State's probably going to win that bracket, in my opinion.
So, yeah, maybe going back a little while ago, Louisiana did get hosed a little bit compared to some of these other teams. I do agree.
So I think they did the right thing with Louisiana, though, in one respect. You go 0-2 in your conference tournament. As a number one seed, you didn't even win a game. So you got kind of punished for that, right? Coastal kind of did the same thing, and they got rewarded with a 3. I mean, I know, like what Marv was saying, you a lot of the 4s are those like automatic qualifiers from lesser conferences. But to me, you kind of have to switch. You kind of have to switch them. Like Coastal should have been a 4. They should be backing into this tournament because that's exactly what they've done.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah, I mean, I think
State has the most losses of any host, by the way.
Wow. Okay.
Take that back. Arizona has more losses, and both of those teams get seeded over East Carolina.
Interesting. At least East Carolina's hosting, though, right?
At least they're hosting. They're the 16 seed, so they make it through the regional. They get to go to, and Tennessee makes it through. They go to Tennessee.
That'd be a fun one.
That would be a heck of a fun one.
Would be good. That would be good. Chris is saying, Trey, Savage being injured can absolutely wreck ECU if he's unavailable. He did not pitch in the conference tournament due to a collapsed lung, which I did hear about that. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. I don't know how fast you recover from a collapse. I've never had one, luckily, but
probably not within a couple days, I'd say.
That's what I'm thinking. I doubt he goes, but we'll
save
see about that.
Save him for the Super.
There you go. Though I don't think Florida deserved to be in. I have them winning their region. With Cags and Shellnut back-to-back in the lineup, that team can get hot and really do some damage. And Wake is winning that ECU regional. I'm not so sure about that. I
can see it.
I could see it. Oh, I'm not saying I couldn't see it, but they have the players to do it, but they haven't won me over as a team yet this year, right? They were built up to be the number one, team coming into the season, or at least up there in the top 2 or 3 at the very least. And they just really didn't live up to those expectations early on. I guess you're kind of rounding into form now.
How about Florida getting into the tournament 1 game over 500?
Yeah, horrible look.
28-27.
Yeah.
But they
you say it's a horrible look, but I mean, based on what we talked about, I don't know. It's not surprising.
I think besides some of your like automatic qualifiers, that's definitely the worst record in this tournament.
No matter what, whether it's basketball, soccer, there's always going to be somebody that got hosed and somebody that shouldn't have got in. I mean, it happens every year. So it is what it is. And if you're Florida, you go out and win a regional, go to a super regional and prove everybody wrong at that point.
Yeah, I mean, here's my issue with it, right? Like, we want the respect and the notoriety as the Sun Belt because, we get held down in so many other sports. We feel like we're there in baseball, though, right? When you do things like this to those perceived power teams, power conferences, what it does is it sets a precedent for the future to have the same thing done instead of doing maybe what you should have done and let a team like Lamar or College of Charleston in over those teams like Florida because you are more worthy.
You're right, but you can argue Florida, but you can also turn around and argue Coastal Carolina.
Yeah. No,
so,
you could.
I mean,
Lamar won 13 more baseball games.
13
more baseball games.
Yeah, that's
hey, there's one team in the tournament with a losing record.
Who's that?
Which one's that?
Oral Roberts coming in at 27, 30, and 1.
Wow.
They win the
they're a couple games over 500. But they were in last year, right? Weren't they the Cinderella from last season, I believe?
I believe you're right.
They won their conference tournament, though, so they're in.
Yeah.
Chris is saying, Wake with Chase Burns ready to go in game 2. You put them in the loser's bracket behind the 8 ball. Give me advantage, Wake. Probably, yeah. I mean, that's the part where you talk about they have the players to go that other teams won't have.
Keith LeClaire Stadium in Greenville is a tough place to play baseball. It really is. I grew up there. There will be a bunch of really drunk people wearing purple out in the outfield in the jungle. And that's going to – I definitely see that one going 3 games between Wake and ECU.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, makes sense. Brett is letting us know Southern Miss got screwed over, but that's okay because we going to get revenge with the little devil.
Where are you getting revenge, Brett? You're not playing.
And Chris is saying, don't sleep on Oral Roberts. They went to Omaha last year with a bunch of returning players, struggled early, and really put it together at the end of the year. Yeah, so
let's see. They're going to get through Duke.
Yeah,
I don't favor them in that one.
Nope.
After what you and I saw in person, Marv, those guys have like monsters on their roster.
Not to mention, yes, they're still hitting and they're still running bases. Not to mention the fact they threw in the middle innings. Dom, you remember this? They put out 3 freshmen, all 6'2" plus. They were all consistently throwing 93 and 94 at 18 years old. And it's just like, they recruit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, when those guys were running the bases and standing besides Austin and a couple of other infielders there was a big disparity in size. Not just like, oh yeah, this team's a little bit bigger. They were monsters compared to App State's roster. Because let's face it, even Banks Tully, who came from a big program and lit up the Sun Belt, not an overall big guy, right? I mean,
like 6'2", 200.
Yeah, I mean, he's big, right? But that's kind of like the size I am. I'm about 6'2", 200. So, when you're looking at these guys from Duke, 6'4", 225, and and above, it's noticeable when you see them standing beside each other. So
they were grown ass men.
They were. There was no doubt about that. Chris says he can see a Duke Oral Roberts regional final easily. So yeah, I mean, I think Duke will be there without question. From what I've seen, winning the ACC tournament, that's not going to be easy, or wasn't easy, but they've done it. So
Duke's going to Omaha. I told you that when we were sitting there. I think this is a team that can go to Omaha with the bats and arms. Like, they're good.
Yeah. Yeah. It honestly, to me, one of the interesting questions is how many teams move on to the supers from the ACC and SEC. I think that's going to be interesting because the SEC had more, but the ACC's teams are very good. So it'll be interesting to see if the SEC is really as strong as it looks, right? Putting 11 teams into this NCAA tournament bracket. But yeah, I mean, unless you guys got any more crazy thoughts, we're about to get us jumping off. Two and a half? I mean, because Monday was a holiday, about 2.5 days away.
Yeah,
2 days away, man.
Can't wait for
we got one more. No,
day and
bottom line, we got one more, no matter what, next week. So,
yep.
Good luck to everybody.
Yeah. Hey, final thought: Coastal does not deserve to be in this tournament.
There you go. I like the final thought. I like that. One more final thought. Down below, W Energy for your energy drink needs, your clean energy drink needs, by the way. SB Syndicate at checkout. Sunbelt Syndicate at checkout. We just shortened it. SB Syndicate at checkout will get you a promo code for a percentage off your purchase order. For Seth, Marv, and myself, thank you guys for tuning in. This was a great episode, a lot of interaction. That's what we like to have. Keep it rolling into this weekend. Good luck to all the Sunbelt teams, and hopefully we will see you back here for more Sunbelt baseball action next week.